It was more than 700 days ago now. I sat down for the first time to meditate. It did not go too well, but I kept doing it every day. The rest of my habits were garbage, but I still meditated daily. Then after some time, something that seemed awful happened. I went through a breakup. And when this happened, it obviously seemed quite rough. But then I decided to let it be something good. And this decision was the most important decision I've ever made in my entire life. It would turn this seemingly painful event to instead be the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And something that put me on a completely different path in life. Something that would turn me from a sad video game addict with bad alcohol habits that gave into every little bit of instant gratification that he could, to a man that is proud to look himself in the mirror every single day. It all traces back to this decision, to devote my life to always becoming better. And since I got on this journey, my life has been more eventful, enjoyable, and painful and interesting and incredible than the first 21 years combined. And when this is the case, you also learn a lot. There are two lessons that are the most important ones here, and the second one is probably the most valuable lesson I've ever learned in my whole life. The first one is to not identify with beliefs you learn about. We like to identify ourselves as things. And I don't mean genders and that whole thing. I mean that you read about philosophies and theories about things and some of it resonates with you. So you decide, yep, this is me. And you just take in everything from that source without filtering it. For many people on self-improvement, Stoicism is a good example. You read some Stoicism, a lot of it resonates with you, and suddenly you're a Stoic. And you read a book about, let's say, discipline, and suddenly everything that's not hard work is weakness. The problem here is that you become insular. You become unable to accept any perspective that clashes with your own because you identify with it. It's part of your identity. So when you're discussing it with someone, you're so sure that you're right, so you're not even considering what the other person is saying. You're just waiting for them to finish so you can tell them why you're right. You know Manson's law of avoidance. The more something threatens your identity, the more you will avoid it. So, if you identify with these beliefs and make them part of who you are, you won't be able to take in other perspectives even though they might help you, because they threaten your identity. Here is the big lesson that I think is underrated. You don't have to adopt all the beliefs of things you read about. You can read meditations and disagree with some of it, but you still take some of it to heart and learn from it and grow. And you can read a book on entrepreneurship and still get a regular job, but you took some of the advice from the book about spending money more responsibly, for example. The best thing you can do when you're making your way in the chaos that is the world of self-improvement is to listen, but don't take in information just because you can. Filter it, reflect, and take some of it to heart. The stuff that actually makes sense to you and you genuinely consider it to be good advice. Take some from different sources, maybe some Stoicism, maybe some Buddhism, maybe something from this book, maybe something from that book, maybe something from this video. The second and by far most important lesson I've learned is that you can only go so far in solitude. This is the thing. Relationships is what allows you to work on yourself the most. And I have been saying this for a long time and I've known it in theory, but as time passes, I keep noticing more and more things I can work on, all thanks to me getting close to people, discussing things and dating and observing how other people work, learning to see the patterns of human behavior, which not only helps you to figure other people out, but also figure yourself out, learn how you work. You learn to identify new things you need to work on. And I believe many people distance themselves from the world when they start to improve themselves. They're going monk mode or whatever. And then you feel like you're growing, and you look back at your past relationships and you laugh because of how ridiculous you were acting, and you're so much better now. But guess what? You will act the exact same way next time, because you can only work on these things by really experiencing them. That's the most important thing I've learned. If you want an example of how you can really get out there in the world instead of isolating yourself, click here. And also click here to subscribe, and click the link down below if you want to talk to me for free. We'll hop on a 30-minute call and brainstorm ways for you to improve. Until then, earn your sleep.